To explain to you what e-invoicing is all about, let me maybe start by describing the problem. What is today the state-of-the-art process for a business sending and receiving invoices? If I'm a supplier, I might ask my system to create an invoice, a PDF, send that by email to my customer. They may then take that email, apply state-of-the-art AI to get that data to guess, more or less, in a very sophisticated way, what is what, put that into my own system, and then take that through the human process of approving and verifying emails. Still very intensive in terms of human labor, so not a very efficient process. E-invoicing basically solves that. Right? It solves it by doing three things. First is obviously it's electronic, so is PDFs, so it needs to go beyond that. The second is it creates a common dictionary of what means what on an invoice, so that it becomes machine readable, very important, so that the machines can talk to each other without the intervention of AI. And third is the concept of identity, which creates a network. It means that I understand who sent the invoice, I understand who that counterparty is, and I can verify that invoice. The introduction of e-invoicing everywhere is inevitable. It is obvious that such an inefficient process as we have today can be digitized, and the technology to do that already exists, and it will be incredibly powerful for governments to be able to close the VAT gap, but also for businesses to take that first step to digitization or to automate processes that they have today that remain very inefficient, to be able to invest that capital into more important things like growth. I see a further evolution where once we've done that and once we've established a network and an identity, then why not take more documents and apply the same philosophy? So I see a world where ultimately much of the documentation in this world between businesses and ultimately between business and consumers is digitized and machine readable, saving so much time and human effort and computing power.
If we talk about the potential for businesses to use electronic invoicing, this will of course be a massive change as well. Reducing paper is an obvious one, but even more beneficial is to get early payments from customers, which is typically 5 to 7 days earlier compared to paper or even PDF processes.
The day-to-day benefits to businesses using e-invoicing are very concrete. It reduces the time it takes to manually enter invoice data. The reduction of late payments. This is based on studies from several companies. The third one is the efficiency from data reuse, because invoice data can be reused, for example, for digital VAT reporting, but also to facilitate access to finance by sharing them with fintech and banks.
Once invoicing is implemented, it doesn't matter if you receive 1 or 1,000 invoices per day. The processing time is similar, and your company can grow exponentially.
Digitalization is key for surviving and is key for growth. Without digitalization, it's very difficult to compete.
Late payments comes up time and time again. Businesses in terms of the cash flow, these are good businesses, they're viable businesses, but often they have to take out kind of bridging loans to help them manage their finances day to day because they have not been paid.
E-invoicing has the potential to be a really great tool in the armory for access to finance, for security. How do I know that invoice coming through is actually genuine? E-invoicing provides an additional element of added security around there.
It allows you to maintain better control of your finances by being able to manage your balance of collections and payments on a daily basis.
Governments have a key role to play in ensuring interoperability. Without common standards, it's a Wild West.
Government and private sector working together on standards is much better than the government issuing dictates to the private sector that require particular technology to be used.
Europe needs common standards because without them, the single market cannot operate as a truly integrated market. And this, of course, creates barriers and creates costs and inefficiencies that are not necessary.
Awareness is quite low around e-invoicing, and that's natural because we've got a lot of other challenges that are actually hitting the marketplace. It counts as the most trusted advisors out there. A lot of this will be supported with the accountants and software working together.
The main lessons that countries like the UK can learn from the Digital Age initiative in Europe is that adoption at scale does not happen without legal mandates. There are countries in Europe where invoicing is still voluntary and there is still 5% adoption.
The collaboration between the national trade associations and the government is key. Without this collaboration, it's impossible to digitalize the small and medium enterprise.
Well, we have seen internationally where this has been a voluntary scheme and the adoption has been much lower than a mandated scheme. So I think it is something that we should look at as a phased scheme, starting with the bigger businesses.
I see e-invoicing as just the start of the global e-document revolution.
If we combine really now the structured data that you receive for electronic invoices with artificial intelligence capabilities, it gives a lot of additional benefits in terms of fraud detection, but you can also use the data to optimize your tax reports, for example, as we often talk about the invoice as the queen of documents, just because it has so many relations with other processes like e-procurement, payment, financing.
But we also need to make sure that the public sector and the private sector are working in partnership to ensure that businesses and consumers have access to the most innovative AI tools so that all can benefit from innovation.
I think it is inevitable that eventually e-invoicing will be everywhere, in every country, in every region, because it's just so logical and obvious. It saves an enormous amount of time, it helps government collect their tax, and it saves a lot of power usage on alternatives like using AI to read invoices. So I see this happening everywhere. There's many avenues to explore, like why not digitize more documents, customs documentation, for example. But also we could look at using invoice data for carbon tracking and carbon reporting to understand our carbon footprint as a business. I'm very grateful to all the contributors to this video. If you want to know more, please click through to our report. Enjoy the reading.